Hello and welcome to episode 42 of the TEW 2020 Challenge Run. This is going to be Monday, week 2 of August 2020, and this edition of Monday Night Raw, as the road to the first ever two-night SummerSlam extravaganza continues. Without any further ado, let's just jump straight into the show.
I won't beg, break, I'm going away. Every moment's one more chance to stand up or get in the
AJ Styles opens the show. He says that he's heard all week long that he can't just show up, win one match, and get a shot at the WWE Championship. Well, guess what? Nobody has been through a harder time in the last 4 months than him. Nobody deserves this more than he does. He was buried alive and had to spend the last 3 months travelling on foot to catch up with WWE. The fact he won that match is a goddamn miracle. I just realised he probably wouldn't say goddamn because he's a AJ Styles, but whatever. Freaking miracle. And at SummerSlam, the miracle will be realised when AJ Styles becomes 3-time WWE Champion. Angel Garza interrupts this. He says that AJ only won that match because he was taken out by his former friends, but he wants a fair shot this week to earn the title opportunity. So that's the main event. It's going to be the main event tonight. Angel Garza and Andrade and AJ for just because he took his spot in the Fatal 4-Way last week and Garza wants a pro shot at him. 8 minutes 31, Jinder Mahal loses to Kevin Owens. Pop-up powerbomb gets a 62. Owens 77-47 for Jinder. Kev grabs a mic after the match. He says that apparently all you need to do to earn a US title shot is get your ass kicked. But that being said, he welcomes the challenge of Bobby Lashley and says that he better bring his A game at SummerSlam because while he may not be the beast incarnate, he's the prize fighter. And he has no plans to drop his prize. So yes, Bobby Lashley and Kevin Owens is all a go for the US title at SummerSlam. And it's just, Kev just like, hey, I know you're big bad Bobby Lashley, the almighty, but I'm a prize fighter and I'm coming to claim my prize. I've left everyone off screen here. Vega, Escobar and Isiah Swerve Scott. Zelina says that Escobar and Scott took him, being Garza, out for his own good because he isn't ready for a WWE title shot. He's proved over these last months that he's a loser. If you want to prove us wrong, face Andrade at SummerSlam and he'll put you down for good. So there's the challenge made to Angel Garza. But of course he's got his sights set on the WWE title here tonight. Because surely if he can beat the number one contender, he'll get involved in the title mix somehow. So I don't think he'll respond to Zelina this week. But then Zelina's other boys, Escobar and Scott, in a losing effort against the Viking Raiders, because I know, like, the Vega group is the group I'm pushing, but this is, like, their first match as a tag team, and the whole story is going to be, like, they need time to sort of gel and get together and work well together. So they try and take on an actual tag team unit here tonight, the Viking Raiders, and they can't quite get it done, because while they are obviously perceived as important because they're part of Vega's posse, they're not on the level of an actual established tag team here on Raw quite yet. Speaking of actual established tag teams, Chase Parker and Matt Martel are one. They are, what the fuck are they called? Oh, Everrise from NXT, who are here for a one-night deal. Jacob Fatu beats them both up in 3 minutes. He gets a 53, 29 for Martel, 34 for Chase Parker. Lana talks after the match. She officially introduces Jacob Fatu to the WWE Universe, because of course he wasn't actually named last week by her, just by commentary. And of course there'll be people who don't know who he is, so Lana's like, he is a big bad Samoan, he's coming to kick ass. She says that she's had enough of being a punchline, so Jacob Fatu is here to put everyone down, starting with you, Oney Lorcan. So Lana has got her insurance policy here, and she's no longer going to be comedy relief here on Raw. She's the real deal, and she's going to manage Jacob Fatu to the promised lands. So Mojo is backstage. He sort of has to pop out every now and again from the announce desk to his office to sort of get shit sorted, because he's the GM. And then Paul Heyman comes up to him. Heyman says last week he pissed off not only Heyman, but also Brock Lesnar. And believe me, Joe, there will be hell to pay for you when Brock Lesnar returns to this program. Joe gets in Paul's face and he's like, I'd love to see him try. And he sort of shoulder checks Heyman as he returns to the commentary booth. So, yeah, very much some simmering tension here between Lesnar and Joe. Speaking of Joe, he's back out at the announce desk here. And he has to be because Shayna Baszler's in the ring waiting for the commercials to end. She says that she'll deal with Kyrie and Asuka in due time. She has more important things to deal with. Ruby, get your ass out here and give me back my title, which of course Ruby and Candice stole last week. And that's what caused Kyrie to roll up Shayna. Ruby and Candice come out with the title that they've stolen, and Ruby says that she'll win this title for the greater good, and she's just keeping it warm until she can officially call it her own. Candice and Ruby then enter the ring, and they go to attack Shayna when Liv Morgan comes to even the odds because she sort of slapped Ruby and is like, give that belt back, that's not yours, bitch. And then they all get into a cat fight. And then Joe stands up for the announce desk and he makes a tag team match player in the spirit of the late great Teddy Long. In a match that gets a 66. Shayna and Liv defeat Candice and Ruby. Shayna submits Ruby Riott with the Kirifuda clutch. But during the match, Asuka and Kyrie came out and they steal the title. They distracted both men, or both teams even, not men. It says Asuka distracted Baszler, Kyrie distracted Candice, yeah. They just distract both teams because they come out and take the belt, just like the Church of Rollins did last week. But it doesn't put Shayna off her game this week, and she submits Ruby with... I probably should have made it Candice. Yeah, it was Candice. But the game says Ruby, so I've been saying Ruby, but no, for the sake of what's coming up, it has to be Candice LeRae really losing it here. VIP Nation promo. MVP says that Bronson Reed and Big Show can keep fighting for their partners, but VIP Nation don't need Bobby Lashley. He has his sights set on Kevin Owens and becoming the United States Champion. Now we have faith in Shelton and Apollo to keep their titles without a third party, but they do still have me, he says. So who wants to step up to MVP? Ricochet? Cedric? Big Show? Ozzy Might? Come show yourself. And then Humberto Carrillo's theme hits. Him and Cesaro come out, Path of the Dragon. They say that they also want their revenge on Ozzy Might for their assault last week. But that the numbers game isn't with them right like they think it is. Because they have their own third member. And when he beats you, MVP, we want a tag team title shot. Now, before I take the photo off and reveal the identity of this gentleman to you, there's something I do want to go over real quick. The way this game works, like, there was to start with, there some of the AEW roster and some of the New Japan roster you can get because they're not on exclusive deals with them companies. But like, they would not be able to go to WWE because it's only programmed like that, so they could work elsewhere under the set while still working for AEW or for New Japan. So I was like, okay, well, I should probably not, even though I can technically go for them, I'm going to leave them because like it's not really realistic. I'll wait for their contracts to expire before I go for them. And then it was a whole different case of AEW because they're like a year old, and like I don't feel like contracts would lapse this soon. But again, the game doesn't know that, so it just randomly triggers extensions. So, like, AEW contracts are coming up all the time, and I'm just like, now I don't want to take them yet because it wouldn't be realistic if they would go like this late, and like they would re-sign with AEW because their contracts wouldn't have expired. So I'm not going to be stealing anyone from AEW. The key word there is steal. Because I feel like if there's an AEW contract that comes up in the game and they don't offer him an extension, well, he won't be in AEW in the game. We can just say he got let go. And then I feel like it is 100% fair game to bring this person in. So with that being said, say hello to the third member of Path of the Dragon, Mr. Luchasaurus. In 8 minutes 42, Luchasaurus defeated MVP in 8:42 with the Betrayal. MVP gets a 53 and a 47 for Luchasaurus on his Raw debut. Luchasaurus stares at Apollo and Shelton at ringside, but then he's attacked from behind by Bronson Reed. But he doesn't go down, and Luchasaurus takes a fight to the Vic Boy, and he sends him packing to the outside of a big kick, and then he hoists Carrillo and Tozawa onto his shoulders. So they're sort of like a Raw version of Jurassic Express here, Path of the Dragon, because I had Luchasaurus come in, because obviously AEW didn't give him an extension, and I was wondering for ages what to do with him. And then just the way I had this storyline planning out, like, with these big men for each team, I thought he would be perfect to be, like, the dragon that is the spirit of Path of the Dragon. Because I said, I think it was earlier on, a couple episodes ago, or well, it probably would have been like 2 months ago in the game by now, when they first started teaming, that I had a plan for them that I didn't know could be someone I didn't know I could get, and I couldn't get that person. I was going to bring in Ricky Steamboat and have him manage them like AEW style. But I couldn't get him, so I was sort of like, oh fuck, I've got nothing for them. Now they're just sort of a flippy, happy team. But now they have their own real-life dragon. Another angle with the Robert Stone brand. Chilling on, they probably wouldn't be in the pool this week, they'll probably be somewhere else around poolside. Robert Stone's on his laptop. And he says that when Aaliyah and Brandy come to Raw, ratings will go through the roof. He's calculated it. Only 2 weeks to go. Then we cut to the announcers. They're talking about the Robert Stone vignette, and then they move along to what the situation is with the Raw Women's title. Everyone's stealing it. When, like, we can't see it off camera, we can see there's somebody that's moved behind them, and then they just stopped sort of talking and sort of looked behind them. And Charlotte Flair has just stood behind some Mojo. And she's like, you can't let these women just walk in here and get a title shot just because they've taken the title that's not theirs. She still owes Shayna a fair match after their undecisive finish at Great Balls of Fire. Do the right thing, Joe. And Joe's like, oh, listen, I'll make a decision. I'll let the world know next week what the situation is with the Raw Women's title. So Charlotte, of course, not happy that people are jumping ahead of her in the queue, and why would she be? Because she's always been at the front of the queue, because she's the queen, woo, etc. Here's a promo. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton come out. First time Seth has seen with Randy since Great Balls of Fire. Seth says that he said all those years ago that Edge will get his just dues, and that he isn't the only one who feels that way. Then Randy takes the mic. He says that everything he said about Edge was true, and for his own sake, he needs to be put out to pasture. And if Randy Orton couldn't do it himself, then he can work with the Great Messiah to get the job done. The Street Profits come out. They tell Orton that they have lost all respect for him. When they came to Raw, he was someone they wanted to sort of learn from and pick up tips from. But aligning with Seth, that's just not it, fam. Seth slaps Angelo Dawkins for saying fam in front of the Messiah. He doesn't take that kind of language, but more importantly, it's because he insulted him. And then we get a tag team match, Seth and Randy Orton against the Street Profits. And to completely contradict what I said earlier on about Escobar and Scott, Seth and Randy defeat the Profits here. And I know it's two singles guys being an established tag team on their first try, but look at who the two singles guys are. And more importantly, I just wanted to do the spot where Montez Ford goes for a frog splash on Randy Orton. He turns in midair like he can because it's the best frog splash in wrestling. But of course, with it being Randall Keefe, RKO completely out of nowhere catches Montez Ford and gets the pin. After the match, though, Seth and Randy leave and the other disciples get into the ring. They're going to beat up the Street Profits, but Rey Mysterio comes out to even the odds with his lead pipe. He takes to the legs of Akam and takes the big man out. And then the numbers game is against the disciples. I've only just realised that Damian Priest wasn't here, and probably should have put him in here, but I know why I didn't, so it's fine. That leads to Johnny Gargano and Rey Mysterio having a match, because at 72, Rey defeats Johnny Gargano because a botched interference by Buddy Murphy. So the disciples have been thrown off their game after Rey Mysterio took the fight to them And Ray picks up a big win, handing Gargano his first L on the main roster. In a banging match.
Can't you see how your love's affecting our reality? Every time we're down, you can make it right, and that makes you larger than life. Can't you see how your love's affecting our reality? Every time we're down.
Another Alistair Black promo from his little gothic church that he was in last week. He says it's been a week, 7 entire days, and he has not received an answer. I know you can hear me. I need you to respond. Come find me. Come remind me who I am. Finish me, he says to whoever he's talking to. 75 for the main event. Angel Styles, whoever that is. AJ Styles defeats Angel Garza in 17 minutes. With the phenomenal forearm because Andrade screws him. 78 for AJ, 63 for Garza. And AJ celebrating his win. And then it cuts. So he does that sort of thing where we can see it's being watched on a TV by Drew McIntyre backstage. Charlie goes up to him and asks for his comment on facing AJ Styles at SummerSlam. Drew says when he came back to WWE in 2017, he had a bucket list of people he wanted to face. And at the top of that list was AJ Styles. And now at SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer, the 2-night event, which is larger than life itself, he gets that match, and it's for the WWE Championship. And make no mistake about it, he will retain the title, and he'll make AJ wish he was still buried 6 feet under. Strong words from a strong champion on a 78 rated episode of Raw. But of course, what matters more than that 78 is what you thought of the show. So do let me know what you thought in the comments below. And I'll see you next time as the build to SummerSlam continues with SmackDown. See you then.